You may not risk your life by jumping out of an airplane, but you do it here every time you don't hook up. It's the difference between life and death. According to National Safety Council statistics, falls were the third highest cause of disabling injuries in construction work. OSHA statistics cite falls as the leading cause of construction fatalities. Unfortunately, when this scaffold broke, the unprotected worker fell to his death. But this worker was eventually rescued because he hooked up. In fact, he fell only 5 feet because he wore a shock-absorbing lanyard attached to a full-body harness. Hooking up to fall protection saves lives. This program covers the Occupational Safety and Health Administration's fall protection regulations, the types of personal fall protection systems, which systems you should use, equipment anchorage, tie-off and use, rescue of fallen workers, and equipment care and inspection. There are 3 kinds of fall protection systems: personal fall arrest systems, positioning device systems, and personal fall protection systems for climbing activities. Personal fall arrest systems stop workers after a fall. This equipment consists of full body harnesses, lanyards, lifelines, anchorage connectors, and descent control devices. Positioning device systems prevent falls by supporting the person in a working position with equipment such as a body belt, harness, connectors, snap hooks, and proper anchorage. Personal fall protection systems for climbing activities protect the worker while he is climbing. An example is this ladder safety device with carrier, moving safety sleeve, and body belt. When a person is in free fall, the fall arrest system activates after a certain distance. It takes additional distance, called the total fall arrest distance, to decelerate the person to a full stop. To prevent injuries caused by a sudden stop, fall arrest equipment often has a braking system to absorb some of the force. OSHA recommends that training should cover the manufacturer's instructions on each item's intended use, whether certain items can be used for fall arrest or only for positioning, when shock-absorbing lanyards must be used with harnesses and belts, and what kinds of lifelines to use with the system. Use equipment only for its designed purpose. Anchorages must meet minimum strength requirements as set by OSHA. Choose an anchor that gives you the mobility to do your job. Be sure that any anchor point you use has been approved by your employer and meets OSHA's strength requirements. And check it for damage before trusting your life to it. When rigging your system, consider the total fall arrest distance allowed by your equipment. This distance may be provided by the manufacturer. If you use a shock-absorbing lanyard, an additional 3.5 feet, the most permitted, should be figured into the total fall arrest distance. And remember, the longer the line, the more it can stretch. If an anchor point is low and the lanyard too long, a fall directly under the anchor point will probably cause a swing fall. Minimize this by anchoring higher, shortening the lanyard, or by using a horizontal lifeline installed by a qualified person. The shorter your possible free fall, the less chance of injury. Never rig a system that would allow you to free fall more than 6 feet. Make sure you cannot fall into potential hazards that could cause injury. One way of limiting a free fall is by using a shorter lanyard. A second method is to raise the tie-off point to the lifeline or anchor. The tie-off must always be level with or higher than the connection to your harness. Lifelines can be horizontal or vertical. Horizontal lifelines must be designed, installed, and used under the supervision of a qualified person. The more workers tied off to a single line, the stronger the line and its anchors must be. Vertical lifelines should never have more than 1 person per line. Make sure the line reaches to the ground or the next working level below, or terminated in a way that will keep you from moving past its end. According to OSHA, when working 6 feet or more above the ground or a working surface, tying off or fall protection will be required. To tie off is to connect a harness directly or indirectly to a secure anchor point. OSHA recommends consulting the given manufacturer's instructions on the best tie-off methods. Avoid weakening lines by the way you tie off. For example, a tie-off that uses a knot will be weaker than a non-tie method of attachment. Instead, try a stronger lanyard, or reduce the chances of free fall by using a shorter lanyard or raise the tie-off point. Tying off around rough or sharp surfaces can cut into and weaken lines. Use either a tie-off apparatus, effective padding, or an abrasion-resistant strap. Locking snap hooks are recognizably safer than non-locking snap hooks, since locks prevent rollout, the accidental opening of a snap hook. Unexpected snap hook openings are also prevented by using locking snap hooks. D-rings should be larger than hooks so that the ring will reach beyond the hook's keeper. After attaching any snap hook, even the locking type, make sure it is securely closed to eliminate the possibility of rollout. Harnesses must fit snugly. If your harness is too loose, there's a chance you could fall out of it. The front and side D-ring positions on belts are only for use with ladder safety devices and positioning systems. A harness can be attached either in the center of your back at the shoulder level or above your head. And don't use chest harnesses if there is the possibility of free fall. Ladder safety devices are designed to keep both hands free for climbing. The connection between the device carrier's lifeline and your belt cannot be more than 9 inches long. This limits free fall, but it's also enough to let you climb in a normal position. Do not climb while holding any objects. Either use belt hooks or a rope to hoist them up. In addition to equipment used for fall protection, there are general safety procedures that, when followed, will reduce hazards that can cause falls. Decrease the chances of tripping and falling over an edge. Keep the work area clean. Keep tools, equipment, and trash out of walkways. Sweep often. Route hoses, cords, and leads over standing racks, or mount them on columns or beams. Install standard railings and toe boards around all edges and floor openings. Erect warning lines or barricades where railings cannot be installed. A fall hazard exists whenever you're on an elevated surface. Recognize the hazard, try to eliminate it, and when needed, use required fall protection and use it correctly. Effective rescue systems are planned in advance. If a fall occurs, the worker suspended from a fall arrest system must be rescued safely and quickly. Your employer will have a plan for prompt recovery of fall victims. This can include a system for rescue by co-workers, summoning a rescue squad, or both. Safety experts recommend thorough training with all rescue equipment at your facility. This can include ladders, hoists, man lifts, or ropes. Rescue personnel should have advanced training and rehearsal in acting according to the circumstances of emergencies using the company's rescue plan. In most situations, fall protection should be used during the rescue. Once the victim has been reached, try to lower him as safely as possible. When transporting the victim, be careful to keep him as immobile as possible. Improper movement can make head, neck, or back injuries worse. And remember, if you are calm and confident, you will help keep the victim calm and make the rescue less difficult. You must inspect all personal fall protection systems before each use. Defective equipment must be identified and replaced at once. Follow the instructions for inspection methods from the manufacturer. Look for anything that could make any item unsafe. Is any equipment cut, worn, or damaged? Do lanyards have any broken fibers, pulled stitches, damage, or wear? Do snap hooks close properly and lock securely? If any item is damaged, defective, or has been involved in a fall arrest, remove it from service at once. Destroy it or tag it as unusable and out of service. Any equipment that has been subject to impact loading must be inspected by a competent person before it can be used again. Personal fall protection systems can save your life. Care for them properly and use them correctly whenever needed. If you lose your balance up here, you can fall and be stopped by a fall arrest system. Take care of yourself. Hook up.
Every day, our industry requires people to work at different heights. Sometimes close to the ground, other times hundreds of feet in the air. Everyone knows the danger of a fall, but as the building goes up, you become more comfortable with your surroundings. It's when you're too comfortable that a disaster could occur. You've just seen how easy it is to become the victim of a fall. Even for people who are normally cautious, it only takes a moment for a person to end up badly injured or dead. OSHA estimates there are over 68,000 injuries due to falls, where the OSHA Subpart M fall protection standard would apply. And the impact of one of these accidents doesn't stop with the person who's been hurt. Falls take their toll in human terms: family hardship, lost time from work, and low morale on the site. The good news is that injuries can be minimized with a well-managed fall protection program. This includes pre-planning of potential fall exposures, comprehensive training, and using the right equipment. The program also includes enforcing fall protection procedures and disciplinary action for those who don't comply. You may already know something about fall protection, but the fact is, the OSHA standards have changed. That means you might have to change some of the fall protection procedures you've been using. The biggest change is that you must have fall protection whenever there's a chance of falling 6 feet or more. 6 feet may not seem like very far, but workers have been killed from falls less than 6 feet. You have to know what fall protection will protect you most effectively. In general, there are 8 types: guardrails, safety nets, covers, personal fall arrest systems, warning lines, controlled access zones, safety monitors, and a fall protection plan. Guardrails are common on construction sites. A guardrail is made up of a top rail, mid-rail, toe board, and posts. The top rail should be between 39 and 45 inches above the walking level. Mid-rails should be located halfway between the top edge of the rail and the floor. The only exception to having mid-rails is when a wall or parapet comes up 21 inches next to the guardrail. Then the wall provides the necessary protection. When constructing a guardrail, choose materials with a smooth finish that won't cause lacerations or snag clothing and cause a fall. The guardrail should be strong enough to withstand a force of up to 200 pounds, applied within 2 inches of the top edge in any outward or downward direction. Wood, pipe, structural steel, and cable are all good materials for constructing guardrails. When using wood, choose stress-grade construction lumber. The posts and top rail should be made of 2x4s. Mid-rails should be made of at least 1 by 6-inch lumber. For pipe guardrails, posts, top rails, and mid-rails should be at least 1.5-inch diameter of Schedule 40 pipe. When using structural steel for guardrails, posts, top rails, and mid-rails should be at least 2 by 2 by 3/8-inch angles. If you choose cable for a top rail, it should be a 1/4-inch nominal diameter or thickness and marked at 6-foot intervals with a high visibility material so people can see it. And never use steel or plastic banding for top rails or mid rails. No matter which material you choose, OSHA requires that posts be spaced no more than 8 feet apart. Make sure there's no overhang on the end joints that could catch on clothing or cause someone to trip. Toe boards are attached at the walking level and keep people from slipping over the edge. They also hold back tools or materials that could fall on someone below. Toe boards should be at least 3.5 inches high and made out of wood or another solid material, and with openings no more than 1 inch at its greatest dimension. Toe boards must be able to withstand 50 pounds of force in any downward or outward direction at any point along the toe board. Remember to regularly check guardrails for cracks or wear and replace them if necessary. Another type of fall protection is the safety net. Safety nets are made out of strong synthetic materials with holes no more than 6 inches at its greatest dimension. They should be installed as close as possible to where people might fall, but never more than 30 feet below the level they are designed to protect. Net extensions vary. The longer the potential fall, the bigger the net should be. For example, if the net is 5 feet below the working level, the net should extend a minimum of 8 feet away from the building. If the net is 5 to 10 feet below the working level, the net should extend out 10 feet. If the safety net is 10 to 30 feet below the working level, the net should reach out a minimum of 13 feet. You may have to use more than one net to provide adequate protection. If so, make sure the connections between the nets are no more than 6 inches apart and that the connection material is as strong as the rest of the net. Just like the other equipment, you should always test a safety net to make sure it'll work when needed. You also need to monitor the safety of the net after it's in place. Immediately remove anything that falls into it, such as construction tools or materials. You don't want someone injured because they landed on scraps or tools. Check nets once a week for mildew, stress, or any other signs of wear. If you find problems, remove the net immediately and replace it. The third type of fall protection is a cover. You're required to keep covered any gap or void 2 inches or more in dimension on a floor, roof, or other walking or working surface. Covers should be made of a strong material that will support twice the total weight of a worker, equipment, and materials at one time, and twice the maximum weight of the axle load of any vehicle expected to cross. Make sure you write the word hole or cover in large, easy-to-see letters, and make sure the cover is securely in place. The approaches we've described so far, guardrails, safety nets, covers, personal and positional safety systems, cover many of the major hazards you face on a construction site. They can be used alone or in combination to make sure you and others on the site stay safe. Even so, there might be times when these methods are too awkward to use or difficult to construct. In these cases, you'll need to look into other methods like warning line systems, controlled access zones, safety monitors, and protection plans. Warning line systems and controlled access zones help reduce the risk of falls by restricting entrance to certain areas of the job site. A warning line system uses rope, wires, or chains to keep people out of areas where they could potentially fall. They are often used on roofs, around dangerous mechanical equipment, or where other methods are impractical. Always make sure the lines are marked with high visibility material so they're easy to see. Controlled access zones allow only people working directly in the area to enter. These zones are indicated by a control line made of rope, wire, tape, or something similar. Like warning lines, they should be clearly marked. A safety monitoring system is another way to help prevent falls. This system uses a competent person as a safety monitor. The monitor's job is to actively patrol the work area and warn others of any possible danger. Being the safety monitor is a full-time, dedicated responsibility, and the monitor must not be distracted by other job duties if the system is going to be effective. Another option is a fall protection plan. Under certain conditions, you may need to design a site-specific fall protection plan, but this should only be used as a last resort in situations where other options won't work. Under the new standard, you're required to have fall protection in the following areas. Around unprotected edges, including what is called the leading edge. This is where a floor, roof, or deck is being constructed and the edge is constantly changing. Depending on the activity, you should use either guardrails, fall arrest systems, safety nets, or a safety monitoring system. Where there are holes that people can fall through, covers and guardrails work best here. On ramps, runways, and walkways, use guardrails. When working on formwork, reinforcing steel, and other vertical surfaces, personal fall arrest systems, safety nets, or positioning devices should be used. When doing overhand bricklaying, use guardrails, safety nets, or personal fall arrest systems. When fall protection is needed for excavations, use fences, guardrails, or barricades. During precast concrete erection, use guardrails, safety nets, personal fall arrest systems, or a fall protection plan. And wall openings require guardrails, safety nets, or personal fall arrest systems. All right, we've talked about 8 types of fall protection you can use. There are 2 other areas to consider in an effective fall protection program. First, don't forget about the hazard caused by falling objects like tools or materials. Toe boards help prevent this, but make sure you always wear your hard hat. Second, there needs to be a plan to get help if a fall does occur. Know your company's rescue procedures and your role if a rescue is needed, and make sure rescue equipment is readily available. Fall protection is an important part of staying safe on the job site. Get in the habit of taking the time for fall protection. Every time you're in danger of falling 6 feet or more. All it takes is a moment to plan, and you help make potential job site fall accidents a thing of the past.
Because a ladder is a basic, uncomplicated tool, we sometimes lose respect for its potential hazards. Yet there are more ways to misuse a ladder than there are warning stickers. Ladder safety depends on your understanding of safe work practices and a respect for the potential hazards. In this program, you will learn safe work practices for ladders, including proper selection guidelines, ladder inspection, setting up for optimum stability, safe work practices while on the ladder, and proper maintenance and storage. The first step for ladder safety is to select the proper ladder for the job. What are the requirements and potential hazards at the job site? Potential hazards may include overhead obstructions, a congested area, work near hazardous substances, electrical hazards, or an uneven surface. These factors play an important role in selecting a ladder. Understand both the features and limitations of the ladders you use. Factors to consider are the ladder's duty rating, maximum working height, and conductivity. Each ladder is tested for maximum weight capacity and is assigned a duty rating. Type 1A with a 300-pound duty rating and Type 1, a 250-pound duty rating, are approved for industrial use. Type 2 has a 225-pound rating and should only be used for light maintenance and office use. Never exceed the weight capacity of a ladder. When choosing an extension ladder of proper length, there are many factors to consider. The proper angle that the ladder must be set up at requires additional length. It must extend 3 feet beyond the roof line if you want to climb onto the structure. And the fly and base sections must meet the manufacturer's recommended minimum for overlap. The overlap section should equal approximately 1/12 of the total working height. For example, a ladder extended 36 feet should have a 3-foot overlap. For these reasons, an extension ladder must be longer than the height you wish to climb. A 30-foot extension ladder would not be long enough to climb onto a 30-foot structure. If you have to stand on the first step from the top of a step ladder, or the second step from the top of a straight or extension ladder, it is too short for the job and should not be used. On the other hand, a ladder that is too big for the job is also unsafe. If you have to reach forward beyond an arm's length, get down and get a smaller ladder that will bring you closer to your work. Unless you are a trained, qualified person, a minimum safe approach distance of at least 10 feet must be maintained from all exposed energized electrical equipment. The 10 feet includes the ladder. Metal ladders should never be used near electrical sources because of the potential for electrical shock. Wood ladders may also be conductive if they have metal reinforcements or contain excessive dirt, oil, or grease. A ladder can develop defects if it is mishandled or misused. Before using, check the ladder to make sure the steps are firmly anchored to the side rails. All hardware is secure. There are no protrusions that could cause cuts or scratches. Look for worn or broken ropes on an extension ladder. Do the locks form a secure grip? If a ladder is dropped, inspect it before use. Common problems include split side rails or broken locks. A ladder that does not pass inspection is a fall hazard. Do not use it until it has been properly repaired. The best way to move a stepladder is to grab it at the midpoint and carry it horizontally. Do not attempt to carry a long ladder by yourself. Get help. A ladder should only be moved vertically short distances. By carrying a ladder vertically, you run the risk of contacting an overhead obstruction or losing your balance. It can also put additional stress on your body and lead to back injuries. The environment in which the ladder is used may create potential hazards if proper precautions are not followed. Cordon off the area to prevent people or machinery from hitting the ladder. If you are working around a blind corner, place a sign that would be visible to coworkers. If you are working near a doorway, lock, guard, or block the door. Before raising the ladder, make sure it is free from oil, grease, or any other substance that may cause slipping. Wear work shoes with non-slip soles and clean them before climbing the ladder. Hard hats should be worn by both the climber and spotters to protect against potential bumps or falling objects. Your objective when setting up a ladder is to achieve a proper angle in which you can maintain your balance and to secure the ladder to prevent any potential movement. To properly set up an extension ladder, place the bottom of the ladder at the base of the foundation and walk it up hand over hand. Pull the base away from the foundation and extend the ladder to the proper height and then lock the rungs. A ladder should be placed so that it is 1 foot away from the vertical support for every 4 feet of ladder height, commonly referred to as the 1/4 rule. For example, a height of 16 feet would require the ladder to be 4 feet from the base of the wall. This 75-degree angle utilizes the ladder's construction strengths and gives you optimum balance when climbing. Many ladders have an angle guide posted on the side for assistance. The bottom line on the label should be even with the ground. With the ladder placed at the proper angle, the next objective is to secure it to prevent movement. The best way is to tie it off at the bottom, middle, and top. The anchoring points you use must be strong enough to support the full weight capacity of the ladder. Because this is not always available, it is important that a spotter is used to hold down the ladder. As an extra precaution, tie it off where the bottom of the fly section meets the base to prevent slippage and make the middle stronger. Make sure the top rails are equally balanced on the structure and extended 3 feet beyond the roof line. Tie it at the top in a manner that prevents the ladder from pulling to one side. In many instances, obstructions may prevent you from setting up the ladder correctly. Is there a better position to place the ladder in which the proper angle can be achieved? If there are no anchoring points, can the feet be wedged against a sound structure? If a ladder must be set up on an incline or uneven surface, use a ladder leveler. Make sure the locking mechanism is firm and will not slip when weight is applied to it. Never use boards or boxes for levelers. On grass or loose surface, use the feet in the spiked position. For a hard surface, use the feet outward. Rubber feet caps help prevent wood ladders from slipping on a concrete surface. With a stepladder, make sure both spreaders are locked and all 4 feet are firmly placed on the ground before climbing. If positioning is such that all 4 feet cannot be even, use a straight or extension ladder. In this scenario, an extension ladder placed in front of this loading dock would be more effective than placing a stepladder dangerously close to the edge. This accident can be attributed to both overreaching and selecting the improper ladder for the job. Always face the ladder and maintain 3 points of contact: 2 hands and 1 foot or 2 feet and a hand. This cannot be done when you are carrying supplies or tools. Use lift lines or tool belts when necessary. Keep your belt buckle between the rails to keep your center of gravity in balance with the ladder. Never attempt to move the ladder while on it. Serious injuries occur when you do not take the time to descend and reposition the ladder. The same techniques for safe climbing also apply to fixed ladders. Make sure your shoes are clean. Face the ladder and keep 3 points of contact at all times. Hand tools should be carried in a tool belt or pouch or raised with a tow line. Report any defects you find on a fixed ladder to your supervisor. Climbing a fixed ladder can be more strenuous because of the steeper angle. Rest on a landing or against the well if you are tired. Fall protection is required on fixed ladders above 24 feet. This may be in the form of cages, wells, or other ladder safety devices. When working at any height, fall protection must be considered if both hands are needed to perform the work or the task requires you to work in one place for an extended amount of time. Proper care can extend the life of a ladder. Store extension ladders horizontally on racks that are no farther than 6 feet apart. Store the ladder in a well-ventilated area, away from extreme heat, cold, or moisture. Do not store materials on the ladder or block access to a ladder. When transporting ladders on truck racks, secure the ladder at both ends to prevent movement that will damage the ladder or fall from the truck. New ladders should be checked over when received to make sure they meet specifications. A wood ladder can be treated with a preservative for protection against weathering, but it should not be painted. Paint will cover up defects. Never take chances when working from elevated heights. Falls are second only to automobile accidents as the leading cause of workplace fatalities and disabling injuries. Each year, 300 people are killed and 65,000 are hospitalized due to ladder accidents both on and off the job. Select the proper ladder for the job. Inspect for defects before use. Take the time to properly secure the ladder. Follow safe procedures when working from the ladder. And never use a ladder for something it wasn't designed for. By following the proper procedures presented in this program, you can ensure your safety when working from a ladder.